Hello dear student, let's deal with this video. In this video we will be solving certain questions based on the concept that's rectilinear motion, and a few questions will be based on the constant acceleration case, and some of the questions we will pick in which the acceleration will be variable as well. So let's say this question, and what else you can do is this. First you read the question, then pause it and solve, and then match with your solution with the solution that I'm going to provide over here. Okay, so this question number one, we can call it. It reads as a car is accelerating from rest. So when it says from rest, that means its initial velocity. So it says u equal to 0, and it's moving with a constant rate, that means constant acceleration alpha. Sometimes, so time is missing, after which it deaccelerates, that means it is in the opposite direction, again with a constant rate. When we say constant rate, that means it's a rate of change of velocity. So that's a acceleration basically, and again now finally it comes to rest. So final velocity is 0, ultimately velocity is 0. Total time elapsed during this process is t. So total time is given to us. We need to evaluate. First is the maximum velocity attained during the journey, and the second we need to find the total distance traveled by the particle in the journey. So I'm providing solution over here. So solution can be like this. First we can make a straight line, and we can make a rough picture. In physics, to solve questions is always going to be handy for us to make a rough picture. It may not be aesthetically beautiful, but it should be there so that we can write what is going on. So let's say that's x direction, and we can think of our particle or the object starts from origin, that's O, and it's moving. So let's say that's the initial location from where it starts, and it goes like this. So initial velocity is 0, but it got acceleration in the forward direction, so that is alpha. So initial acceleration has been stated as alpha, and this happens for certain time duration. So up to this time it is accelerating, it might be acquiring some velocity. Let's say that velocity is v0, and let's say this time during this journey it has taken certain time. So let's say this time is t1. So in the first journey it has taken t1 time, and then after it deaccelerates with a constant rate. So when we say deacceleration, that means we need to change the direction or make it negative, so that's a beta, and finally it reaches to this location. Here its velocity becomes 0, so that means it comes to rest. So it started from rest, came to rest finally. Now let's say we name them. This is a point A, this is a point B. So the journey can be studied in two branches or two segments. First is OA journey, and the second is AB journey, because in these journeys accelerations are different and remains constant during the journey. Let's say the time duration for the second journey is t2. So t1, t2 are time durations during the journey. That's what we are considering over here. So we can say here, since in both cases accelerations are constant, so we can use the equations of motion directly. So if we use the equations of motion directly, so we will be considering journey step by step. So 0 or origin to A journey, if we watch this. So for this journey we can say this v0 is going to be the final velocity, which starts from the initial velocity plus acceleration into time t1. Then you will find this u is a 0, so this will give us the value of t1 as v0 divided by alpha. So we got the relation between the time duration and the velocity, that it is this middle velocity. And then we can go for we can also apply another equation if needs comes. So let's say this OA, second equation of motion. So that was first equation of motion. If we use the second equation of motion, so it will be OA. Let's call this OA as x1, and let's call this as x2. So this OA is basically going to be equal to x1. So as per the second equation of motion, which is ut plus half at square, is going to be 0 into t1, because 0 is a u, half a, which is alpha, into t1 square. So from here we will be able to find the value of x1, and which is basically half alpha t1 square. Making sense? And t1 can be calculated as we got to know this v0, or we can use the third equation to find that thing. So third equation can also be used for this purpose. Or we can simply replace the value of t1 from this expression. So this x1 can be converted into v naught square divided by twice alpha. That's I'm writing directly. So this has been the description for O to A journey of the object. And then we need to see the journey that runs from A to B. So for A to B journey we are talking about. In this journey it's retarding with the acceleration beta. So beta has to be placed as a negative, we know this. And let's apply the first equation, which is v is equal to u plus at. So if we apply this equation, so you'll find in place of v, which is going to be the final velocity, which is 0, initial velocity will be treated as v naught. In place of a, we will write minus beta into time, which is t2. So from here you will get the time t2 as v naught divided by beta. Similarly, we can use the second equation or third equation to find this AB distance. This AB distance is going to be basically x2, which can be written as using the third equation, we can say v naught square, that means initial velocity square divided by twice beta. You can check that. I've used the third equation directly. How I have used final velocity square is equal to initial velocity square minus twice beta into x2. Now minus y, because this is a deceleration, you know these notations. Now let's look at what is to be asked or what is to be answered. So first part is asking about the maximum velocity. So first we need to think where the maximum velocity is going to be. It starts from 0 and it goes to the its velocity increases, so this becomes a maximum. Why? Because then after its velocity going to decrease because of deacceleration. So deacceleration reduces the velocity. So this v naught is basically the maximum velocity. And there's one more condition given to us, the total time elapses t. So we can say here I'm writing, since t1 plus t2 is equal to t, so we can place this t1 definition and t2 definition, and we can get the value of v naught. So it's going to be v naught by alpha plus v naught by beta, that's going to be equal to t. Now you take this v naught outside, so you are going to get this alpha plus beta divided by alpha beta is equal to t. So from here we can say the first part answer is coming, answer of the first part, which is maximum velocity, which is equal to v naught, and it's going to be alpha beta into t divided by alpha plus beta. Making sense? So this is how we are able to solve the first part of this particular question. Now once we have understood this first part, can we find the answer of the second part as well? So we can also find the second part as well. So far we have talked about that these are the two equations that we made, and this is the first part answer. I have erased the rest of the part. So first part has been done. Now let's come about the second part. So second part is asking about what is the total distance covered. So you can say total distance, let's say assume to be x. It's going to be basically O to B distance. It's going to be sum of OA plus AB. And you got to know this x1 and x2, you can sum them up, then you will get your answer for this particular distance calculation. Now here we can say this is going to be v naught square by 2, you can take as a common, and you are going to get as a 1 upon alpha plus 1 upon beta. Now v naught you have already got it, so you can place that v naught value. So it's going to be basically equal to alpha beta into t divided by twice times alpha plus beta, and square of this number and square of this number into, if you settle this down, then you're going to get alpha beta divided by upside you are going to get alpha plus beta divided by downside you are going to get alpha beta. You'll find they are going to cancel out once, so you will be left with simply this thing, which is going to be alpha beta into t divided by twice times alpha plus beta. So that will be the formula for total displacement of the particle, and this is formula for velocity, which is maximum. This total displacement is also equal to total distance because the particle is moving in only in one direction in this case. The same question can also be handled by using the graph as well. Then if somebody asks you to plot the graph, then you can plot the graph like this. That means if we plot this velocity, so that's also going to be a good way to solve it. Let me quickly explain that as well. So if we draw this velocity versus time graph, you say this is velocity and that's the time, so how the graph is going to look like? You'll find the first velocity increases, constant acceleration, it starts from 0, so increases, constant acceleration, and then it decreases with another retardation, and finally comes to 0. So start from 0, that means this time 0, then the velocity was 0, this becomes the maximum velocity, which we call as a v naught, and up to this we have considered this as a time t1, this is considered as a time t2, this is the final velocity. Here the acceleration is alpha, so you can say the slope is going to be alpha, or tan alpha is going to be this, tan theta is going to be this alpha, and this slope is going to give us the beta, and we know this area under the v versus t graph is going to give us the displacement. So from here you can measure this alpha, then beta, then t1 plus t2, whatever we did. So that's also going to be handy and to get our answer, or at least from here you need to understand how we can plot the graph. So this entire motion can be represented by this graph, which says the velocity increases with a constant acceleration and then decreases with a constant retardation. Understood? Well, so this is your answer. So this is for velocity, this is for position or distance. There is a minor correction coming in, so this has to be square, so make that correction, because t square, so t square going to be there, and the rest is fine. Let's take another question. So there is a question written over here, you can read it and solve and then check the solution. So we are going to solve over here the solution. What it says, let's say extract the information. It says a body moving with a constant retardation, so again it's a constant case, on a straight line, yes, so we can apply the equations of motion of 1D, constant acceleration, traverse this much and this much in 6th and 9th second. So we have understood the formula of nth second displacement, and this is respectively, of course, and it says when will the body come momentarily at rest, that means at what time its velocity will be 0. So velocity will be 0 at what time, that's what the question is demanding for. So what the formula will go, we will say this Sn or Xn formula we need to apply. Xn is going to be equal to u plus a by 2 twice n minus 1. So this has to be applied twice, first for this case, another for this case. So for 6th second, so it's going to be for n equal to 6, that's for 6th second. You are going to get it as a 5.7 is equal to, initial is unknown, a is, let's say, a by 2, and then n is 6, so it will become 12 minus 1. So that's one equation. Then we can use this n equal to 9. So if you use n equal to 9, so the displacement is 3.9. It's a retarding, hence the displacement is reducing. Initial velocity is unknown, we need to find it. A is unknown, we need to find it. Divided by 2, and n has to be replaced by 9. So 9 into 2, 18. 18 minus 1. So that's equation number 2. Now what you can do, you can solve this equation. Solve 1 and 2. After solving this 1 and 2, we need to find what the u is going to be and what the a is going to be. So you just solve and let me know what this u and a are. Well, so check whether you are getting this as a 9 meter per second and this a minus 0.6 meter per second square. So this calculation you can verify. Anyway, and then we need to go to our question. Question is when it's going to be momentarily at rest. So since it's moving with a constant retardation, so we can apply the equation directly. Now notice one more point, retardation is a constant, right? So a came out to be negative, that clearly says it's a retardation. So we took this a as a number like acceleration, and after solving we got a as a negative, that claims that it's a retardation. Okay. Another way would have been that if I have placed a minus sign over here already, then you will find this a will come as a positive, because initially we have considered it's a retardation. So now we can go for this equation, v is equal to u plus at, because we need to find time, and we have been given the initial velocity, we have calculated initial velocity, we have given the final velocity. So use this, once you use this, so final velocity has to be 0, initial velocity came out to be 9, and plus a value is minus 0.6 into t. So from here we can find the time. This will be the time at which the particle will come momentarily at rest. So it will become 9 divided by 0.6, which we can simplify. which we can say is going to be you can divide by 3 and it can be made at 30 divided by 2, which is 15 seconds. That means after 15 seconds from the journey starting, you'll find particle will come momentarily at rest. Okay, so here is the next question. Again, you can read it and go ahead for solving it and then see the solution. Yeah, it reads like this. There are two ships, 1 and 2. They are named as a 1 and 2, and they are moving in with a constant velocity. So this is of constant velocity. That means acceleration is 0 for both of them. And initial velocity, constant velocities are known to us, and mutually perpendicular straight tracks towards intersection O. So let's consider this is intersection O. And at a moment equal to 0, they are located somewhere. So one is being located at this point, which is 120 meter from this, and another is located at this, which is 200 meter from this origin intersection point. How soon the distance between the ships becomes shortest and what it is equal to? So this is the scenario at t equal to 0. Let's say after time t, their locations we are drawing. Solution: let after time t the distance becomes minimum. So after time t, they are closest, or the distance becomes minimum or shortest or whatever, closest. So where they will be located? So this was moving with the velocity. Initial velocity is given as a 3 meter per second, and this was moving with the velocity 4 meter per second. Now you will identify that this particle might be coming here, and this particle or ship will be coming over here. So there's a ship number 1 that is traveling, and this is a ship number 2 we are talking about. So if they are there, so can we find the new coordinates? What they are going to have a new coordinates? We can find that new coordinates. Once we are able to find those new coordinates, so can we find the distance between them? So that's going to be the distance between them, and that's the distance between the 2 points we are looking for. So this one point will have a coordinate, or this point will have a coordinates since t time has elapsed, so this must be covered as a 3t distance, and this distance which it has covered is going to be 4t, because we know velocity is equal to this distance by time. So distance is going to be equal to velocity into time, and this will be applied for the case acceleration is 0, because they are moving with a constant velocity. You know all these basic stuffs. So now let's consider the gap between them is this. So I'm erasing this equation, and since you know, so I will use it directly, and I'm using the letter s for the distance. So let's say this is the separation between the two, s for separation. At any instant, if we write the separation between 2 points, so this is 1 point, this is another point, you can either use the vector, or either way you can say we need to use this coordinate, we need to use this coordinate, or we need to use basically what this length is going to be, and we need to use this length is going to be. You can catch these lengths. Can we say this is going to be 120 minus 3t, and can we say this is going to be 200 minus 4t? Yes, so we can say using Pythagoras, this is going to be a hypotenuse, and it will be having the equation like this: 120 minus 3t square, whole square rather, plus another dimension square, which is 200 minus 4t whole square. So that's going to be the distance between the two ships at any instant of time, and we are basically talking about this is the instant of closest separation. So what we need to do, we need to say that this s has to be minimum. Now here again learned rules are going to be applied. We want s minimum. So if we want s minimum, what we need to do? We need to go for differentiation and put it 0. So we will use the rules of maximas as minimum. Now we can say, let's say this number we can denote by any other letter. Let's say we are denoting this by letter called x, or let's call z for that matter. So if this is a z which is inside, so we can say s is going to be minimum when z is minimum. That will make our calculation little bit easier. So we are considering z, which is basically this thing, 120 minus 3t whole square plus 200 minus 4t whole square. because when z is going to be maximum, s is going to be maximum. When z is going to be minimum, s is going to be minimum. By considering this, we are basically having a relation s is equal to under root z. So we can find z, we can find s. Now as per the rule, we can say for z to be minimum, we need to find first of all dz by dt. So we need to find dz by dt to get this extremum value. Let's find it out. So I'm writing directly, you can catch it. So here we are going to use the formula for x raised to power n, or so it's a t raised to power 2, so it's going to be twice 120 minus 3t raised to power 1, and 1 is cannot be even if you don't write, it's okay. And then if there has to be chain rule, as per the chain rule you need to differentiate this again, so that means d upon dt of this entire stuff which is inside. So that's going to be 120 differentiation is 0, and minus 3t differentiation is minus 3. Then come to the second term, which is going to be again 200 minus 4t raised to power 2 minus 1, that's 1. And then you can go for the chain rule and say it's going to be 0 minus 4. So that's going to be dz upon dt. If you simplify it, it's going to be minus 6 times 120 minus 3t, and minus 8 times 200 minus 40. Can you see that? So that's going to be the value of dz upon dt. Now you know what to do. So now onwards, what we are going to do is this. We are going to say dz upon dt is equal to 0. We are going to place dz upon dt to be 0. This is for z to be minimum. As soon as you do this, that means you make this number to be 0, you will find the value of t. So from here we will be finding the value of t. So this t will be calculated. That's what calculation you need to perform. Once you got this t, that means we have got the answer how soon the distance between the ships becomes shortest. So this is going to be the answer for the time after which it will become shortest separation. Then the second part, what is it equal to? That means we need to find s minimum. So for that sake, we will say s minimum is going to be basically under root z minimum. And how we'll get that z minimum? Whatever the t we are getting out of here, this t has to be substituted on this expression of z. So if you put this t back on this z, or you can simply put the t back on this expression, you will get s minimum, right? So that will be another answer. So this is how you will get your both the answers. I'm also providing answers over here, so you can verify your answers. This t, the time after which this distance becomes shorted, should come as a 46.4 second, and the minimum separation between the two ships must come as a 24 meter. So check your answer. If you are getting this answer after calculation, that means you are good at calculation. And what I have explained over here, the idea how to solve it, initially they were placed at particular location, then they were moving, so we assume t time. After t time they will be in the new locations. We identify the new location, then we consider this right angle triangle, and we measure the hypotenuse, which was s, and this s came out to be this. Now purpose was to minimize it, and how to get the minima and maxima. So for minima and maxima there are certain rules. We are using those rules. To make things simpler, we assume the entire stuff as a z, and so that our differentiation becomes quite a little bit easier. We differentiated it, and then for getting z minimum, we put this differentiation 0. Out of this, t has been calculated, then replaced this t on the z, then we got the value of distance, or which is minimum separation. And this is a general idea that you can use for getting minimum separation between any two particles moving. Here is the next problem, and that problem is this. It says a particle moves with a velocity which is given as v is equal to kt square along a straight line. So it's a straight line motion. Find average speed of the particle during time t naught. So we need to find average speed, and the speed is the velocity is given to us. Now whatever this velocity is given to us is a function of time. We can differentiate to find the acceleration, and we can also find further calculations, right? We can get this another information using the those formulas that we know. Anyway, so that the point is this velocity which has been given to us is instantaneous velocity, is a function of time. That means at any instant you can find it out. So let's proceed for the solution. We need to find the average speed. So can we say speed, what the speed is going to be? We know average in case of instantaneous, both magnitude of velocity and magnitude of speed are identical. So speed is also going to be kt square. But this speed is going to be instantaneous. And out of this instantaneous speed, we need to find the average speed, and that average has to be taken for t naught time duration or time interval. Making sense? So this is basically requiring an idea in which out of the instantaneous value, we can find the average value. So we can have a direct formula to find out this thing. So what that direct formula is going to be? So whenever instantaneous velocity speed is given to us, average speed is being asked, whether it's a speed, velocity or any parameter, we can use this formula. So average value, average v is given as integration v dt divided by integration dt. And here the limit has to be placed for the time interval given. For instance, it is given from 0 to t naught, so we will place as a 0 to t naught, 0 to t naught. So this is how the average calculation can be done if the instantaneous value is given to us. Here what we are going to use the instantaneous value, and using that instantaneous value we can calculate the average value. So that's one of the important formula, and this can be extended to other quantities as well. And when we got to know the instantaneous value, we can always find the average value over the time. This is over the time. Sometimes you will be requiring over space or over any other parameter. So instead of writing dt, we will be writing those another parameter, whatever is going to be required. So those type of questions will come at the advanced level. As of now, you just remember or understand this formula to get the average value out of instantaneous value. So here we need to place the instantaneous. Here you are going to get the average. And once you have got to know this formula, then you can solve this easily. And let me quickly solve for that for you as well. So here we will say this is instantaneous, so we need to find this thing. We will say v average, or average speed is going to be basically integration v dt from 0 to t naught divided by integration dt from 0 to t naught. So if we go for the numerator, then you'll find this numerator will be we need to replace this v by kt, so it's going to be integration of kt square dt, and it has to run from t naught 0 to t naught, and downside it's going to be integration dt. Integration of dt is simply t, and we need to place the limits from 0 to t naught, so it's basically t naught. And as far as this numerator is concerned, which can be simplified further by taking this k outside, and t square will getting converted into t cube by 3. You know that rules of integration. And 0 to t naught divided by downside it is t naught. Further simplification will lead to, is going to be equal to k t naught cube divided by 3 t naught. So you'll find ultimately is going to be equal to k t naught square divided by 3. Thus will be the average speed of this particular motion. So that becomes your final answer. So in this question you have learned this formula to get the average value out of instantaneous value, and that's important, so keep in mind. Here is one more question, so let's read it and solve it. It says the speed of a particle can be described. So this is the speed of a particle that is given to us, and we know speed, instantaneous value, and velocity is magnitude, they are identical. C is a constant, x is a displacement. We need to find acceleration of the particle. So we can use the equations for this case. Now here you need to keep in mind, we need to find acceleration. So we never know this acceleration is going to be constant or not constant, right? So that means since we do not know, we are not allowed to apply equations like v is equal to u plus at or whatever, v square is equal to u square plus 2ax, or any these kind of equations are not valid, or at least we can say this is not allowed to start with, because we don't know what this acceleration is, and unless we know what type of this acceleration is, we cannot apply these equations, right? and these equations are valid only for the constant case. So what we need to do, we need to start with the basic equations or basic definitions. Now here the requirement is to find A. So that's our requirement. And what is given? We are having a relation between V and X. So we need to look for a relation in which V, X and A are involved. So if you recall, for one dimension motion, we have talked about this acceleration is also defined as V dV upon dx. As soon as you recall it, the job is done, because V is given to us, and out of this V we can find dV upon dx, then our acceleration will be with us. So if this is velocity, so from this velocity can we calculate the differentiation dV upon dx. So we will say we just differentiate both sides with respect to x. C will come outside and it will be d upon dx of x raised to power half. And as per the rules, it's going to be C upon 2 root x, because this power will reduce by 1, so minus half, that will be downside, and this half will be coming to as 2 downside. So this will become dV upon dx. So then our answer will be equal to, or we can say A is going to be equal to, how much? We can put the value of V, which is C under root x, into, we can also place the value of dV by dx, which is C divided by 2 times root x. Making sense? So if we simplify it, we are going to get is acceleration is equal to root x getting cancelled out, is becoming C square by 2. So that becomes the acceleration of the part. Now finally we are getting A as a C square by 2, which says that this is going to be constant. Now you see, after solving we are able to know that acceleration is a constant. Before solving the question, it was not saying acceleration is constant, and neither we were able to find out. So even though you apply the equation like third equation, you will get the answer correct, but that will be luckily point or coincidence, because finally we are getting the answer as a constant. Had it not been constant, then your method of applying those equations would have been wrong, right? So point is, until and unless you are sure that acceleration is a constant, don't use those equations. Go with the equations that you know, and that is basic definitions, and you will be getting your answers coming out. Fine. Now I'm giving you 2 questions to solve by your own and answer or prove it. So first is this first question, and this is as a homework. You need to try. You need to go through the question. It is related to uniform acceleration, so you can use the equations, and there are 4 options. Out of 4 options, you need to mark the correct option. So you solve it and give the answer in the comment section. So that's one question. Here is another question, or you can call it a question or we can call it a question number 2. So that's the question number 2. Again, it's a homework, and that requires a little bit calculation. So here you need to prove that. You need to prove that this is going to be the relation among times. And what is the time? Its particle covers equal distances during t1, t2, t3 interval of time, and it's moving with the constant acceleration. So again, we are having the equation with the constant acceleration, and we can use the equations of one-dimensional constant acceleration cases, and we need to prove that this is going to be the case. So you need to prove it. Prove it. Okay. And if you have any issue on these questions, so in discussion class we will be discussing these questions. So this is all about this particular video. In this particular video we have tackled couple of questions related to one-dimensional motion, in which some of it having constant acceleration, some zero acceleration, and some variable acceleration. And further more content will coming in the next videos. Thank you for watching. Have a great time.